I just got off the phone with a GP, and I'm feeling quite, I may not look it or sound it, but I'm feeling quite distressed and quite upset. And I thought doing some sort of journal about it may help. I started actually writing on an online journal on my laptop, and then just felt as if I'm almost too upset to compose words, and maybe speaking would be better. And then I was going to do an audio journal, and for some reason the idea came just to video it, and in case, I don't know why, in case I want to upload it to my mental health diary channel. It's hard to explain the distress because it's so it's difficult to explain, because the mind itself is distressed, and it's using that same instrument to try and convey. So it's almost trying to run on a injured foot or injured leg. So I'm aware of that, and so it's strange, because now I'm aware this is video, and this make up to the channel feels like it's harder to be raw. If I was recording a private audio journal, I'd probably be talking gibberish by now and offloading stuff, but I don't know, maybe I should I don't know if I can try and access that and forget that this is videoing, and just so the phone call was about a psychiatrist referral. I had tried to refer myself to a psychiatrist in February, and that ultimately got rejected. And I believe at the time in February, the referral was almost shaped towards just getting a diagnosis, and I think the services thought that's all it was, and said, we don't have the capacity just to give people diagnosis, and so it was upsetting. And the doctor at the time who referred me said, try again in 3 months. There could be other reasons, such as it being a shortage of doctors, or over demand on that facility at the time. So maybe try again in a few months, things may be different. And so my counsellor wrote a letter, and this time it was more towards just my difficulties functioning day to day, and a concern with that there's been a breakdown in my cognitive functions, and so the phone call itself was, if I could try and just summarize it initially, I struggle on the phone, especially now at this time, and to have this type of phone call, it's almost the worst phone call I could have received, because it's so triggering, where I felt like I've desperately wanted to get help, and I don't know the right answers to give. And this phone call was exactly that. It was and first of all, just to say, it's not about blaming people in this situation. For me, the doctor I spoke to seemed like just trying to do his job, and he mentioned to me that initially there's nothing really. Of course, everything I'm saying here, my recollection of the phone call is very little already. It's been only 10 minutes since he phoned. We had that phone call, and my mind's all over the place. So just considering that. So whatever I say here, it's hard for it. I'm going to try and give my best recollection or understanding of on memory. But initially, there was the doctor saying that there isn't really anything I can refer you to psychiatry, and that initially made me extremely angry, upset, and frustrated, and helpless. And I always had to gather my strength to try and speak up for myself. With my initial referral, I attached this big document which lists a lot of symptoms in some detail as well, and so when that was said to me, I was just like, okay, I've attached this document, and then it was said. The doctor said, yes, I've read the document, and there's an awful lot there, and I was like saying, well, there's an awful lot going on with me, and then there was the explanation that in order to get a psychiatrist referral, there needs to be, this is where I can't quite remember what was said, there needs to be something he can give the psychiatrist with, I think he gave the example of depression or self-harm, and that the treatments are not working, and I don't know what to do with this patient, so I'm referring him to you. And I was just saying, I was trying to say to the doctor that I'm helpless right now. I don't know the right answers to give you to get help. I just know I need help. And this is the difficulty. It feels like in order to get help, you almost have to do a medical profession job to be able to explain to somebody, because I wonder how that would work physically. If you said you've got chest pain, they'll be like, well, okay, what do you think is going on in your chest? And you have to try and explain, well, it might be my heart, I'm not sure. But it feels like, I think I gave them that example, like if I had physical symptoms, the doctor would try and get to the bottom of it and help. And so when it was said that, there's nothing, I don't know what to refer you to, what can I do, and then so he said, if there's the doctor said if there's a specific symptoms I can, so I mentioned CPTSD as one of the many things, and it was said, oh, that's handled outside, by outside therapy groups. You can get that as you can go to them. It just felt like the obvious was being missed here. That's what it felt like. And again, I just conjured up strength to say a lot of things that I can't remember now, and it's stressful to try and remember, even though I want to remember, because it helps with my sanity to process that phone call. And right now, when there's gaps there, it almost makes you feel more insane or more unwell, because like it's almost like you've been through a trauma, but then they've taken out all of the bits of the puzzle, and you're just like, well, I feel this way, but you've got nothing to point towards or nothing to explain it as well. And even the symptoms I'm feeling now is maybe distress is a good word to use it. My mind just feels shaken up completely, and I don't think this is all understood. And I said to the doctor that it's that I need to see someone in that profession to I can't quite recall. One thing I can recall is at some point in a conversation, the doctor said it by the looks of it, it could be a personality disorder. And they said they can refer me for that. So almost suddenly, I don't know, maybe there was something in my conversation when I was digging deep to try and explain things that prompted the doctor to say, oh, okay, perhaps something is here. But it felt so jarring where at one point it was said that, I don't know what to refer to, I'm not sure. And I think I was saying to him, I'm screaming for help here. I probably didn't say it in that direct way, because on the phone it's hard to be direct. It's hard to say exactly what you need. In some ways this phone call felt traumatic because it's triggered lots of past stuff of times where I've had mental health assessments. I've shared this in previous recordings where I've not been heard, and again it was like that, and I almost felt like I was being suffocated in that phone call where I was trying to get myself to be heard, and I was doing everything I can just to hold on, to try and almost get a gasp of oxygen, being that meaning being heard. I think I said at some point in the phone call that I don't know the right combination of words or what I need to tell you so I can get through the door to get help. Because I said to the doctor that I understand that you need a certain thing, whether it's a certain symptom or certain, and it was crazy because you've almost got to take on a certain shape or use certain language to be heard, and I was desperately saying that I don't have the capacity to do that, to speak up for myself, and it just felt ludicrous to me. I guess ludicrous that I'm feeling helpless and I'm in a very difficult place, and still it's hard to get help or hard to be seen. And towards the end of the thing, the doctor said, I don't think it was an apology, but it was, the doctor said, I don't know if he said, if the doctor said at the start of the phone call, or they just said, I didn't mean to be too blunt at the start. I was just trying to be frank, and it's strange because my mind's so strained and distressed, it's hard to decipher what was meant behind that. Was the doctor saying that? Was he saying that at the start he was being more frank or being more direct. And I wonder if that's to do with just almost going into a conversation with a bit of armour, so you're not a pushover, or you're not, I find sometimes interactions you can get a bit hardened. So when you enter an interaction, because I remember we had a situation a while back. My brother's hiring a car. We hired a car because our car got written off, and there's some miscommunication of returning the car, and the person at the car dealership called. He was angry and irate, and my brother, this was relayed to my brother, was just trying to calm him down, saying, look, I didn't receive any notification that the car was due back, and I think eventually the dealership person calmed down, and they said something along the lines of, sorry, a lot of customers mess us around. And so he almost came into that with that armour, that ready for battle. And I'm wondering if this doctor did the same thing, where perhaps they came in with that frank sort of directness at the start to take tonality of the phone call, that maybe there was an interpretation that what I was saying was all BS, or I'm sure it's a lot wrong. It's probably wrong. The doctor did say, I can see you're suffering, which was good to hear. I did appreciate that. But yeah, it's funny, little things like that, it kind of rattles my mind, so because I can't process it, I can't figure out what that was meant to mean. It just you lose almost the fabric of the phone call, the shape of the phone call, and it just I almost have to let it go now. I feel like, in terms of remembering what happened in the phone call and this and that, because it's too much to hold up and try and figure out and remember. And apologies, I'm not looking into the camera. I think I'm just finding it's all easier for me not to look, just so I can try and be raw and access, and maybe have this to be useful for me, just to offload. I may not even upload this to the channel, I'm not sure yet. I feel like I'm regretting doing this as a video. Perhaps I should have done this as a private audio and not considered the channel or anything. Yeah, so at the end there was a conversation that the doctor said is believing that this could be a psychological personality disorder, and he said he doesn't mean anything degrading by that. I think he said in the past I'd lock people away with this stuff, but now, of course, times have changed. It just felt like, it just felt jarring, because at the start it's almost a sense of, what can I do? You haven't given me anything, when I felt like I've given everything. And then at the end, suddenly maybe there was something I said that clicked into, for the doctor to say, okay, there's something here, but can't think of the word, but if I didn't say that, I wonder if I would just got off that phone call and there would just be, it's a tricky thing is, I think in this mental health, what I can understand is they need something specific and detailed, that nuance is not seen in mental health. So I've given almost kind of a whole bunch of symptoms, and it's almost like you've got to do the job of packaging something in a specific way to be for them to pass that on to another service, because it's almost like you've got to do a certain job to, like a medical assistant, to be able to kind of package your own health and then present it. When I've said to the doctor, it's very hard to express myself and to give you what you need. And I think I used the idea of a vault combination because it felt like that's what the doctor was angling towards, or what they needed, when really it's just a human observation of looking at this document of detailed stuff. But I can understand it in some ways. It feels like there's a bottleneck, that like the doctor is here, psychiatry is here, and the packet of information sent between them has to be specific, so he used the example, doctor used the example of depression, self-harm, medications are not working, I don't know what to do with this patient, so it's very specific. But with me, there isn't a specificity about what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, to get help and understanding what's happening with me. But they want that job done first. They want me to diagnose myself almost and give that to them, and then I think that's the case. It's just quite upsetting. Yeah, and I don't know what to do now. So I feel distressed and trying to understand the distress of what to do. Okay, perhaps I can start with the distressed. So of course I'm distressed with the phone call itself that happened, but I'm also distressed with not able to remember the phone call, because a part of calming down is processing what's happened and then talking, but it feels like I don't have access to that full conversation of what just happened. So if I was to relay this to a friend, like even with this audio, it feels like it's so jumbled and there's so much missing. And that's another thing, like memory for me at the moment, where it's not there. And I guess the distress is from not being heard on that phone call, with it being said, what do I tell the psychiatrist, what can I give them? And it was like that document was that desperation to say, look, this is all I've got left, this is my last gasp breath, the strength to speak up for myself in this document. And then as a phone call say, okay, well, explain to me what we can do to help you. And it's like, well, what are you actually dealing with? But I think there's that thing where their currency is labels and specifics. Unfortunately, it's maybe it's the case where the only way I can access is through A&E and the psychiatry there, where I'm imagining that they'll do, you won't have to go through these hoops or to try and present yourself and give them what they need, that they'll come and they'll do an evaluation and look and say, okay, let's see what we're dealing with here, what's happening right now. And I was kind of thinking that's what I may have to do, as the doctor was explaining or talking about stuff generally. Yeah, and the jarring was difficult as well. I'm not sure if it wasn't a test, I know that, but there was something in that where I don't know what to make of it. It was the doctor, maybe it's a case of where they have to be very careful about referring people. I don't know. Yeah, and I feel very, I can't think of any other words but distressed, and it's difficult because I can't explain that to anyone else now. It feels like I don't have it in me to explain, because I can say to somebody, yeah, I spoke to the doctor about psychiatrist referral and it was distressing, and it almost that re-triggers it, because it's so much more than that. Like it feels like I need to explain, give them the play-by-play to tell them how traumatic or difficult that was. Not just it was distressful. It was distressing, and then it's gone. Maybe I need to consider that to give this time. This is something that's just happened, and from what I can try and remember from previous things of really difficult moments, that time helps. I think part of me feels like this will be with me for a long while, because it's re-triggered a lot of other trauma related to getting help, and this is another thankfully I managed to kind of speak really clearly, almost like I'm speaking now, maybe not in regards to language, but the clarity in my voice. And I was able to kind of, when the doctor said, perhaps I can refer you to psychiatry in regards to diagnosing a personality disorder and the treatment for that. I said to him, I agree, that's exactly what I need. I need help to frame and understand what I'm dealing with and how best I can treat it. And which is, I thought that was clear. I don't know. I think it's just tricky that to get help through this service, in my personal experience, you need to understand how they work, which is really tricky because you're in a state of disarray and stuff, and you have to figure out how their system works, or how, the referral process, and what keywords or language, or it almost feels like I need a manual to engage in that stuff, and it feels ludicrous, because obviously you're in a state where you need help, and it's almost feels like an ambulance turning up to somebody. They ask questions, okay, what can we do, there's, they're not waiting for the patient to give them a full diagnosis, and then they think, yeah, okay, we can accept that, so you've got admittance to the ambulance, so we can take you to hospital now. I don't know if I'm making sense anymore. But yeah, so the distress I'm feeling now, I don't know how to remedy it, because usually to remedy it, I need to have a clear, I'm guessing almost in a typical healthy mind, a distressful event would be recorded and processed, talked about with somebody. And now the difficulty with me right now is that there's lots of gaps in there now. I'm just left with the distress, and that distress can't be expressed. I wonder why people get violent, or they start hitting things. I can understand that almost, because that's the only thing I can do. I don't have the words to express myself, so I felt like just banging on a table, or just I feel like doing all of that stuff, because it's like it's in my head now, and it's something that doesn't make sense anymore. It's like fragmented, and it's what to do with that, the fragments, almost like shards of glass, almost. It's painful. I'm just looking at the timer, 29 minutes. not sure if I want to upload this as well, because I don't know, it feels a bit depressing to share this. I don't know, I'm worried about triggering other people. Although initially I had the idea of just uploading content and just whoever gets help from it, whoever, just let that worry, let that take care of itself. Whoever, whatever use or whatever, who watch it, if they want to watch it, they'll watch it. If they don't, they won't. So, maybe I shouldn't. I do a lot of worry about other people's sensibilities or their feelings. It's another thing I'll probably ruminate about whether to upload this or not. So I think if I do upload it, I probably almost have to deal with that reaction. That is, I've uploaded something like this, it's out there, and sometimes that can take on extra anxiety that you've put yourself out there like this. And of course, responding to comments, or if people do sort of, I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring people. So I don't know what to do to help myself right now. Don't know who to call. It's funny, I just had a thought, if I was ever to go to A&D, it just feels like it's another triggering process to go there and try and get help. So, to explain to, at first I think you have to check in with the person behind a desk, and what can you say to them? What can I say? Because to look at me and probably hear me, I think, oh, this guy's okay, this guy's alright. If I was to say to them, I'm feeling really distressed right now, imagine feeling okay, well, I don't know what we can do for you, when really it's like the unspoken. This is what I wrote in that document, that it's really hard to express myself when I'm masking symptoms, and I don't know, to me it just felt like that document was enough to be heard and seen, but obviously not with the doctor or GPs, I guess. I'm wondering if down the line, if I was to see some specialists and they looked at the document and they would think, wow, this is, you really should have been seen earlier, or something, some validation. Not to blame people, but just, it's just the system, the medical system we've got here is what we've got. But some, it's just the nature of stuff's missed, people have missed out, If I was ever to do like self-harm, or I don't have any inclinations for this, but if I took my life, then and if they'd look at this stuff, my document and other things, think, wow, there was a huge net that was missed here, but probably not. So it didn't, I don't know. It's one thing, I feel like I just wasn't heard by or seen by the doctor. It was almost as if the doctor was waiting for me to meet them where they are, versus the doctor meeting me where I am. It was almost, he was waiting for, like, up here. I was down here trying to reach up and get help, and he was just saying, well, if you don't give me the right words, or you don't... but maybe the doctor is handcuffed as well. Maybe, like, they've got their own protocols. They can't, like I think he said that he's got to give something to psychiatry to explain a possible prognosis. I think he used the word prognosis. So I can't remember what that even means. Maybe it means a potential diagnosis. Right. And So you almost got to kind of package something that fits into their line of communication.